The following podcast is recorded and produced by Emerge, a media creators co-op, in affiliation with the network at bicbp-radio.com.
Suck at fantasy football, this video is not for you. Why? Because we already drafted, we have no advice for you, and we suck. So before we get into anything, thank you guys for joining us. If you want to make sure, actually I'm gonna tell y'all, like and subscribe. I'm not gonna say it again. I'm not gonna keep telling y'all, subscribe. Simple as that. It don't get more simple than that. But we did the STIGGS League, and if you don't know what the STIGGS League is, it's been brought up through generations, through decades, through centuries, whatever the case may be, however you want to talk about it. It's been years in the making, one of the biggest leagues ever. Even Sleeper gave us a gold star for the league. Y'all wouldn't know because it's not there, but it is there in my email. I could show y'all in a different time. But more than anything, this league has been going on for a long time. I've been hosting it for about 7, maybe even 8 years now. We went from ESPN to Yahoo to Sleeper, and Sleeper has been our home for a little bit now. It's a keeper league, 12 teams. Me and Damian are in it. Damian is not in it. I wanted to give him a break because last year, I think, or even 2 years ago, me and Damian and him were in my dad's league, and we all missed the playoffs.
Yeah, we all stunk.
We all shit the bed, put it like that. So scared Damian off for a little bit, but Damian's been with this league since the inception, I want to say. And like I said, it's a keeper league, 12 teams. Nothing too crazy about the scoring. 4 points per pass touchdown, 1 QB, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 2 flex, tight end. There's no kickers. Not saying fuck kickers, but
that's what we're saying.
Essentially fuck kickers. We're recording this. We're supposed to be kickoff in like 5 minutes, but they're delaying the game, so I guess we got a little bit of time to talk to y'all without getting too distracted. Damian, I want to say your keeper was Kyler Murray.
Yep, kept Kyler with the 9th pick in the 13th round.
Before I say anything, these keeper values are based off 1 round up. So if you didn't get picked up and you're 15th, like I said, we had Puka, Jordan Love, Kyron Williams, CJ Stroud on the 15th round because they were not drafted last year. You can call us whatever you want, but you can't call us casuals because y'all couldn't tell us that those 4 guys would be the top tier players at their positions.
Absolutely.
So before we get into anything, I want to talk to you, Damian, because we did the Derby, which is a brand new thing for us. That's where you pick your draft order based off the order that Sleeper gives you. So I want to talk to you real quick. How did you feel about the Derby, and what strategy did you go into it with?
It was definitely like a cool change up from what we're used to. It's been forever just been the worst player gets the top pick.
Yeah.
A couple years ago we did do like pick trading. We turned it off last year, so that was a little bit different.
Yeah.
And then so even last year I had the first overall pick. It was cool to kind of have a different bit of a change up instead of rewarding people that just end up being bad, because you could very easily just say, if you're halfway through the year and you're playing bad,
exactly,
hey, listen, I'm done competing, let's just go get the first overall pick next year and tank like an NBA team. That's not the case now, obviously, and I feel like for the strategy I went with here, like, it was kind of just going off best available. I mean, like, people kind of picked weird spots pretty early on. Like, I feel like a couple guys in our thing got blessed as far as their draft positions.
We can talk about that in a minute.
And so, I mean, I wanted a ladder hat. I wanted a later round pick. Even if I would have gotten earlier on, I didn't want anything inside the top 5 or 6. Not a hard spot to draft from. Obviously, like, the top 5 guys are league winners. Yeah. Like, through and through, they're going to dominate every week. I wanted to try something a little bit different just with my back-to-back picks, so I went with pick 9. I think by the time I even got him, I think pick 10 through 11 and 12 were all gone.
Yeah, 10, 11, and 12 was gone. I want to say 1, 2, and 4 was gone by the time.
So by the time I got there, you
didn't have much variety, but
yeah, I just went with the latest pick possible. That was what I wanted. I wanted to be as later in the draft as I could.
I got stuck with 7. I was second to last. But if you guys pay attention to our TikTok, I planted my flag and I said that A.J. Brown's going to be a number 1 wide receiver. Now, was that deception? Was that reality? How do I really feel about that? I do believe A.J. Brown will be a wide receiver 1. But that's kind of making content, because I want to start by saying, first off, the person who won the league last year picked that up 1-on-1. So we got Christian McCaffrey at the 101 position. Now, for me personally, his keeper also was Puka Nacua, so let's put that out there now. He won last year. He had Laporta, he had Puka, he had I want to say another really, really strong waiver wire pickup. But all in all, he had one of the most league-winning players with Puka. Laporta was a great pickup. He could have kept him as well. There is a tight end premium in this league, which is only 0.5, so it's not too crazy, but it's enough to, incentivize tight ends just that much more. But CMC went 101, CeeDee Lamb 102, Tyreek Hill 103. Nothing too strange there. Those are the top 3 players off the board. Yeah. Now, that's why I bring up the A.J. Brown thing, because our friend Rena, who is an Eagles fan, picked A.J. Brown at 104. We took a drive to Erie early in the day to play some bets. We already talked about that in a video in the past. You guys want to check that out. But he asked me, then he said, if I guess who you want, you going to tell me? I said, absolutely. He said, A.J. Brown. I said, yes, I want A.J. Brown at 107. Right. Getting A.J. Brown at 107 opposed to 104 is a huge difference.
It's a big swing.
It's a big deal. Like we said, the top 3 players are off the board. Now, at this point, Chase has not re-signed yet. Mm-hmm. Justin Jefferson lost his best chance at a good quarterback. Yep. Bijan Robinson may not be your acquired taste. We didn't bring up Breece Hall because Breece Hall is a keeper. Yep. So now your options are pretty limited to, like I said, A.J. Brown, Garrett Wilson, who situations have not changed. You kind of got more, I guess I would say information. And then Amon-Ra was also a keeper. So we at a point where literally this first round is a lot more watered down. So A.J. Brown at 104, and like I said, I went Garrett Wilson at 107. Damian went Marvin Harrison at 109. So nothing too out of the norm in this first round, I would say.
I think the whole first round went about what you would expect it to. I think maybe the only thing, Jonathan Taylor's ADP is 13, I think. So he basically was the 12th over, and he was the 12th overall pick.
Yeah, because we had 2 players outside of the first round being kept. So that's obviously unfortunate. Like I said, Puka and Breece were first round talents. They got picked out. They got kept outside, and then Amon-Ra St. Brown as well was kept in the first round, who is a first round talent.
And I had to go Marvin because of the stack.
Yeah, so that's all
I dipped down a little bit. Yep. I said I did dip down a little bit. I had a chance at Jahmyr Gibbs or Jonathan Taylor. There was Drake London, Barkley, but Marvin Harrison, I think his ADP was around 15 or 16.
Yeah.
Took him at 109 to stack him with Kyler Murray. That was the plan from the get-go. In every mock we did, I took him with the first round pick. It was never going to change. If he got to me, that was going to be my pick pretty much no matter what.
Yeah, you planted your flag on him in the future bet video because, when you get a stack like that, stacks win you leagues, realistically. Mm-hmm. If you can get a really good stack, even if it's a lower tier stack, it does help you because if that's your number one target and we assume that Marvin Harrison is going to be a great player, we predict he's going to be a great player, we have money involved in him being a great player.
Right.
This is a $100 league. He bet money on him for his catches. We have stock in the guys that we say that we are going to do good. So Marvin Harrison being the player that he can be, the player that he's expected to be, that's a great pick in my opinion. I cannot see a situation where if you don't go Marvin Harrison, you got to hope that Trey McBride comes back to you. Yeah. That's a little bit more risky compared to... It starts
to get sketchy then. Yep. Especially when you have that player available at that pick. And, the thing that I look at is, if Marvin Harrison reaches even the bit they're projecting him to, Kyler Murray has to have a top season.
Yes.
Because Kyler Murray's got to get him the ball.
Somebody has to catch this ball from Kyler Murray.
So
yes, that's as simple as
it was damn near a no-brainer for me at that point with that pick when he was available to take him at 109.
Yep. So, we get into the second round, which is a pretty interesting turning point. Now, I don't love the second round too much, but we got Drake London, 201, Barkley, Achane, Jacobs, and now
it gets weird after that.
Me and you let out 𝗚 groan because I did want Achane. I've been very high on Achane. I've been saying that Achane is going to be a top running back this year. But you being a Dolphins fan, you picking the draft position that you picked, I feel like you assumed that you will for sure get Marvin Harrison and Devon Achane to
like I said, we mocked hundreds of times going into this draft. Once we don't draft, obviously we didn't know draft positions at that point, but we knew keepers. Every time we got a new keeper locked in, we decided, hey, listen, let's do a mock. That was my first 2 picks every time: Marvin Harrison, Devon Achane.
Yeah,
I'm got big hopes for Achane as a Dolphins fan and in fantasy in general. I feel like last year you could say that Achane didn't have the biggest sample size because of how many touches he got. We don't know what's going to happen this year. I would imagine he's going to touch the ball a lot more. You don't get a guy like that averages over 7 yards a carry, and now they're working him out of the backfield. He's running routes and stuff now. He's in the situation in a high-powered offense to where he can outdo what his ADP is, even at 24. I think it's he's the middle of the second round.
Yeah.
Or end of the second round. So
I knew he wouldn't get past you. But I did have him in my queue.
But I definitely didn't expect Dexter to go back-to-back running backs. That's where it shocked me. I thought for sure like Dexter would be like, okay, I got to go get a top wide receiver. I get at this point that your top wide receivers were Aiyuk, Olave, and Devontae Adams.
Yep.
I get it, but at the same time, I was like, nah, like, you know, but him doubling down on running back, good for him.
Yep.
I just had to settle, and I went with Josh Jacobs instead.
Yeah. But Josh Jacobs is not bad at all because we seen that Lloyd is questionable.
A.J. Dillon's out for the season.
Dillon's out for the year. So already,
Emmanuel
if you start the
Wilson's
year
not really
with
pushing for touches.
if you start the year with a workhorse running back like that, you can always move on, or you know what I'm saying, add other pieces around. You know what I'm saying, you want that anchor running back one no matter what.
For sure.
Right before me, Mike goes with Brandon Aiyuk, which surprised me just a tad because at this point, Aiyuk did not practice, did not do any kind of physical.
I think he literally got his team like the next morning.
Yeah, he literally.
Or maybe he got
signed. I think
it was like right around that.
The day before,
like literally the day before.
So he hasn't done really anything too physical. So that shocked me a little bit, which allowed me to take Olave. Was not expecting Olave. Was expecting to be, and it took me a minute to make this pick because like Adams was on the board. Allen was on the board. Mahomes on the board.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things going on. I didn't know who to pick. So I was like, let me just go with a guy that I enjoy.
Yeah, for sure.
I enjoy Olave.
And he still had, I mean, like I said, the only question mark you have with Olave is can Derek Carr get on the ball? But, I mean, Spencer Rattler didn't look horrible in preseason. If Derek Carr does for some reason struggle, I'm sure they don't mind playing Spencer Rattler.
Yep.
And he's still the best wide receiver on that team far and away.
Yep.
So
we come back around the third round. Laporta kicked off the third round.
Before we get to that, those quarterback picks threw off.
Okay, okay.
I don't even want to skip them because
we should talk about that because there were so 1, 2, 3, 4.
I think 5 quarterback keepers.
5 quarterback keepers I'm seeing. So we had 5 people keeping quarterbacks,
Love, Goff,
all
Richardson.
Different positions. So we had Stroud, Love, Kyler, Goff, and Richardson.
Those were 6. Because wait.
I said Goff.
Okay, so Goff
Kyler,
1, Kyler 2, Love 3, Stroud 4, Richardson 5.
That's all I'm seeing.
Okay, so maybe it was just the 5 then. Okay, that's crazy.
That's 5 keeper quarterbacks. 5 teams already have their assumed quarterback 1. I feel like you don't keep a quarterback if you don't expect them to be your quarterback 1. So in the second round, seeing Josh Allen, then Mahomes go back to back. Now, I can't say they're not second round picks.
Yeah.
I can't say that they're not talented players. I can't say they're not MVP caliber players. I can't say I didn't put money on Josh Allen to win MVP. I can't say I didn't come on here and tell you I was going to put money on Josh Allen for MVP. Mm-hmm. But I can tell you this. Would I prefer knowing that 7 other teams got to go through quarterbacks? And I have a chance to take like Mahomes not being kept, Allen's not being kept, Lamar Jackson not being kept, Jalen Hurts not being kept. Like those are your top 4 quarterbacks. Like in any fantasy draft you see, those are the 4 quarterbacks.
Absolutely.
To see that Allen and Mahomes are picked in the second round, and knowing that 5 teams already have their quarterback 1 is shocking enough. I didn't expect that, but I guess the more we talk about it, I guess we kind of see where they were coming from. Mm-hmm. Personally, myself, you guys will see when I went quarterback. It was the latest quarterback pick actually, but Mahomes and Allen going, you know what I'm saying, in the second round. Like I said, I can't say they're not second round picks. I
understand Josh Allen is usually the number 1 quarterback. Mm-hmm. I mean, Mahomes, I think, has finished outside the top 5 once, and that was last year.
Yeah.
Like I understand taking those picks, but with all the like actual position players on the board, and there was so much talent still on the board in the middle of the second round, to go quarterback back to back, knowing, like I said, when there are teams already with 5 quarterbacks that are going to play. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of quarterbacks left that you could have stacked your team around these other guys and just went with a Stafford or went with a Jaden Daniels or something like that and just hope for the upside rather than saying, hey, listen, I'm gonna stake my pick on top guys. Like I said, I definitely don't,
just in the second round, knowing that I was like, there's a good chance you have now I want to say like 57% chance of landing one of these top guys still, because I'm gonna tell you guys this. After Allen Mahomes, the next guy that picks DJ Moore, he already has Jared Goff. Mm-hmm. The guy after that at 211 already has Jordan Love. Yep. The guy that picked at 212, he's very vocal about not liking Josh Allen. So there you can almost assume that Josh Allen's going to make it to you at some point. So and he also is a huge Charger fan. He's picked Justin Herbert, I think, for the last 4 years in a row. and he's won the league twice. So clearly he got something going on.
For sure.
With picking Justin Herbert, maybe that's his good luck charm. But you know that people have their stakes in certain guys.
Yeah.
You know how to the one main thing I try to tell everybody about fantasy drafts is two things. You better have your guys that you want for sure. And there's no such thing as a reach on a guy that you want, in my opinion. There's
Always
no
take
such
your
thing.
guys.
Take the guys you want. And second, play the board. You always play the board. If you can block somebody from doing something, or if you can pick something before the other person has that need, that's how you play the board. And I think a lot of people were starting to realize they got to start playing the board after Allen Mahomes.
Those first two picks, yeah. So that was like the big throw off early on. Like there weren't too many other picks like that going forward, but those two threw off the board pretty early because a lot of guys ended up falling that maybe they shouldn't have because of that.
So we kick out the third round. Laporta goes back to Vinny, who I guess he won last year. I'll never question any of his picks ever again.
Right.
Derrick Henry at 302 to Nico. Shout out to Big Ag Podcast. Chris goes to Pacheco. Cooper Kupp makes it 304. And then Greg stacks Allen and Kincaid, which I feel like everybody was seeing that from about a mile away. If you take Allen, taking Kincaid, who
number one
is
receiver.
assumed his number one target, is going to pay dividends. Dre was auto-drafted. He said he was drunk. He hasn't really competed too well in this league. But he's definitely a decent fantasy player in my experience. He auto-drafted Stephon Diggs here, which a lot of people, I would say there was a league that I did where Stephon Diggs went into like the 6th round. It was a 10-man. I'm like, even
in the 10-man, that's rough.
Like in the 6th round, it's like, I couldn't take him because I already had like 4 wide receivers. I'm like, I can't take him, but that's kind of really crazy. And you know what I'm saying? In Western New York, that Diggs name don't got too much of a
don't carry too much weight anymore.
Don't carry too much weight. But I go Mike Evans there, so I start with 3 straight wide receivers. I'm the only team that goes 3 straight wide receivers. I went Garrett Wilson, Olave, and Evans, all number ones in their respective teams.
And this is where I got lucky because
I think like this. I was torn. I was torn between Evans and Waddle, and I was gonna say if Evans was auto picked by Dre, I was gonna take Waddle, and that's why I was so confused. I'm like, I can't believe Evans falls to me. I think his ADP was at like 28.
Yeah, I was gonna say he made it a whole round later than he was supposed to.
He was not supposed to make it this late. I swore up and down he wasn't gonna make it this late. I didn't even have him in my queue. I had Waddle in my queue. I had Trey McBride in my queue, and that was about it. I was like, I'm gonna get Waddle, Trey McBride, one of the two. So I know with Mike Evans, so like that's when you get that value. So then like reaching later in the draft doesn't hurt that bad because you already acquired some value. We're like, all right, I beat a guy by like 8-9 spots. So now you can reach a little bit later. It's like, all right, well, all my value is kind of accrued right.
And like so Mike's pick too. So obviously you getting Evans was big for me, but then Mike kind of decided what I was going to do with this pick with my next 2 picks.
Mike does it where he gets a stack. So I didn't think of him actually going Nico.
And I forgot he had Stroud at the time. So when he came up on the board, I'm like, yeah, he's going to take Jalen Waddle. I'll just take Nico Collins, whatever, and so be it. So, but what would happen is if he had took Waddle, I'd have took Nico Collins, and then you still went James Cook, or kind of like played the board just like off of that. Like I was good with Nico Collins, but I was thinking Joe Mixon at the time because I was stuck between Mixon and Cook with my next pick. Yeah. So it was like he almost kind of helped me in a way because I still am pretty big on James Cook as far as being like the main running back in Buffalo. So it kind of helped me. Like Mike's taking Nico Collins basically made my next 2 picks for me. Like no matter what, I had no other thoughts on it.
So after you go Waddle, who I swore I was taking, Debo goes at 310. Trey McBride at 311. So
Skyler's tight end 1.
Yeah, Skyler's tight end 4, but you know, kind of reaches a little bit there. But you say if you got a guy that you want, you take the guy that you want, no matter what. Breece Hall finally is a pick here. He's the keeper at 312.
So lucky.
Such a lucky pick for a really good fantasy player with Austin. We finally got a top quarterback off the board once again because we went a whole round without quarterbacks. We went almost 15 picks without a quarterback. And I think Jalen Hurts is way closer to Mahomes than obviously people like to say, or Josh Allen, because he runs the ball a ton. He gets
the rushing touchdowns add up.
So those add up, and it's a 4-point pass touchdown league. So Jalen Hurts in a 4-1, like you just can't get any luckier than Breece Hall at 312,
and then getting Jalen Hurts right back. Breece Hall, like in literally any league, if I had a top 2 pick, was gonna
like I was like I'm taking Breece. Like, realistically, I think Breece Hall is valued enough where knowing all the stuff with Lamb before we even drafted, knowing all the stuff about Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson going down in stock, Amon-Ra St. Brown's kept, all these guys are kept. Like Breece Hall would have been a top 3 pick this year, 100%. So Hurts kicks off the 4th round. We'll fast forward to you at 404. You went James Cook, who you said you were already debating in the 3rd round to see him get to you, knowing that
I thought for sure
certain
Skyler
people
was
need-
going
yeah,
to take
yeah,
it.
yeah, I
So,
swore
and that's
he
what I
was,
was talking
yeah.
about with my last pick is that, like, I was going to take Jalen Waddle, but I knew when I took Waddle that I was risking losing James Cook. But that's why I was like, because I figured that if Mike had went Jalen Waddle, I didn't want Nico Collins, but now I would have been screwed because I wanted either Joe Mixon or James Cook. So I thought for sure Skyler going Trey McBride kind of saved me a little bit as far as how the picks went, because then for me to be able to get James Cook, who goes, I got him around his ADP. He's in the 40s, so I get him at 4-4. But Skyler was talking up such a big game
with James Cook.
on James Cook.
I'm
James
talking
Cook's a
like
3rd round pick. James Cook should go at the end of the second.
James Cook is better. He's a better pick in the second compared to Achane. Like it was going to
like
that,
he was taking it to crazy levels. So I was like, man, I'm gonna have to look somewhere else at running back. And sure enough, he goes Trey McBride, who he said he did not like Trey McBride. Maybe he let the tight end premium get a little bit to him. I mean, like I said, it's not a huge premium, but maybe he let that influence him. But I was happy to get James Cook at 4-4. I get him right at his ADP, and I get 2 running backs.
Yep. So your running back position is solid already. You got 2 young wide receivers who are going to attribute to really, I would say, high pass volume offenses, especially with Arizona. I can't see them not passing the ball a ton more compared to last year.
Right.
For me, I go Devontae Adams at 406.
Devontae Smith.
I'm sorry, Devontae Smith. Was not expecting him there. They got a slot situation they got to figure out in Philly. I said it was going to be A.J. Brown, but now I'm rooting for to be Devontae Smith.
Right.
For obvious reasons, I do want to see that slot receiver.
I didn't expect Mike to go Rashad White. I thought Rashad White was going to slip further down the board.
Rashad White going at 405 did shock me a little bit, but
It's past his ADP, but I know, like, obviously we talked about it big today in the group chat. Like, not everything that you hear about him out of Tampa Bay sounds great right now. They love Bucky Irving.
Yep.
Rashad White, I said last year, like you made plenty of points. Like was not the greatest runner. He made up for it in the receiving game for sure. But you got to be able to run the ball to stay as a starting running back in the National Football League.
If you're gonna get that volume, you have to be efficient somewhere. He was not an efficient runner at all. So if they all right, so you're a better pass catcher. Let's put you in more pass catching roles. If we taken away 5, 6, 7 carries away from him, that's going to be monumental to him because he's almost going to be at a point where like you need him to catch 5, 6, 7 passes now
for him to be
to catch up to the marks that he was already making last year.
Absolutely.
So after me, Lamar Jackson goes auto picked. Like I said, Dre was auto picking. We never have a situation like that with an auto pick, but it wasn't like his auto picks were too terrible.
It seemed like he was definitely making
he was making cues
at points. Yeah.
Joe Mixon, Tank Dell, George Kittle, DK Metcalf, George Pickens.
George Pickens went pretty ahead of his ADP.
Yeah, George Pickens went pretty high. Like I said, I don't question Vinny's picks at all. Clearly, he knows what he's doing. He's profited from this league a bunch, where he can pay through this league technically probably till like 2035 realistically. So I can't really question him too much. I'm more or less looking at George Kittle at 410. That I feel like I don't remember that happening.
Yeah, I don't
looking
remember
back
that. I remember him saying that I remember him talking after the draft about like who wants George Kittle, but I don't remember George Kittle going inside the first.
You
5
took
rounds.
him. Like you took him.
Yeah, George Kittle was a pretty interesting pick. No other crazy ones in that round. I mean, Tank Dell went above his ADP. Tank Dell's not rated that high on his ADP.
Went higher than his ADP.
But I mean, Tank Dell did perform really well last year before the Texans put him in a horrible situation and broke his leg.
Yep.
So, and him and Stroud clearly have a connection. So I don't blame Rodney for going with that pick. I don't love the DK Metcalf pick, but he did need another wide receiver.
Yeah, he was starting.
The wide receivers were starting to dwindle.
Yeah.
So I mean, you have to go with a guy that's gonna be the number 1 wide receiver as usual. But DK did have a down year last year. So I mean, you just gotta hope. But now they bring
it's like both sides are. He getting a new offensive coordinator, but it's like we kind of know we getting out of DK Metcalf. It's not like it's not a brand new situation because it's still Geno Smith. You know what I'm saying? It's still he's on to JSN. He's like everything's the same.
Yeah.
Besides the offensive coordinator.
It's just a different play
how can we assume that the offensive coordinator is going to come in and just change the world for DK Metcalf?
Absolutely.
It's hard to imagine that he just takes that step up where he goes at 4'11". I was not too high on DK Metcalf this year.
And then Vinny, like I said, he killed his picks. The only questionable pick I had from, like I said, I shouldn't be questioning him, but was the George Pickens thing. I felt like there was other wide receivers that were a little bit better available, but getting Kamara at the top of the fifth is nice.
Yeah, he has the 2 best receiving backs for fantasy in the past 5 years.
Because they talked to Kamara big in the offseason. Like Kamara's,
he has no competition anymore. Like Kendrick Miller hype. I've been waiting. In 5 years, and I'm still waiting for Kendrick Miller to break out because he's only gonna be like 26 years old. Like, yes, I'm still waiting for him to break out.
But Kamara's due for another big year. as usual. I mean, like I said, he's going to catch the ball. He's the only one touching the rock. Yes, he's not in the best offense, but he's still going to produce. That's just what he does. Mark Andrews going at the top of the fifth. Kenneth Walker.
And Andrews was hurt for a while.
Yeah, he got hurt all last year. He was hurt damn near all last year.
Yeah, he was hurt in practice for a while. I wasn't too sure what was going on with him. I think
he was in a car accident. He just came back. Yeah, because he was in a car accident.
He literally started practicing, I think, the day before. So I wasn't too keen on taking.
He'll be playing tonight, so Nico will be praying that he has.
Yeah, praying that everything is all right.
Which I didn't realize he also doubled down on Baltimore guys. He has Derrick Henry starting at running back and Andrew starting.
Once you start looking at the draft board, it's hard to really like justify everything because they're not here.
Yeah.
But that's a little bit questionable. Have Mark Henry. Somebody go get that.
The next really surprising one, Rodney kind of Keenan Allen.
I mean,
I don't hate it
personally. I'm not high on Keenan Allen because I heard he came into the offseason overweight. Yeah. For a guy that already was losing the step, coming in overweight and having to lose all this
33, 32.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, and you're already fighting for targets. I just was not. I wasn't targeting him.
But this goes back to what we were saying. Rodney is still a big Keenan Allen guy. He thinks Keenan Allen is the check down guy. He's going to get the ball. You take you guys. Mm-hmm. If that's who you want, you take him and you go. You got blessed at 5'7" because for some reason nobody went and got him.
Yeah, I didn't. All right,
which is BS.
We did this draft on Sunday. From reports, we did not know Jahmyr Gibbs was playing week 1. Mm-hmm. He still has a hamstring injury. We don't know what's going on with him. We assume that his workload will increase, but we can't assume that he's going to be great again immediately because hamstrings do linger. So getting David Montgomery at 507 to me was like, I couldn't believe nobody took him. I was staring at him. I was staring him down. If he was going to be taken there, then I literally did not know what I was going to do. I have no idea what I would have done because I don't care for Christian Kirk too much this year. Evan Ingram was not the tight end I was targeting at all. DeAndre Swift I'm not high on. Rashee Rice maybe because he goes like 5'11". I already took T. Higgins in the draft the day before. I took Godwin the day. Like literally it's all wide receivers. So it's like if I don't get Montgomery, I don't know.
You're taking guys you already have in other ones.
So I didn't want to have too much stock in nobody. And you always want to spread out what kind of shares you got in each player. So Montgomery
was nice. Like so that was a good pick. Like I didn't expect him to make it to like the middle, the end of the fifth. So I mean the fact that like Aaron Jones went over him
was shocking.
But I think I don't even remember if he auto picked that one or if he was.
That was definitely an auto pick. I think he came back and switched his queue around, and then we were waiting. It was like it kind of was getting annoying because we were like.
Right,
hurry up!
He was taking the whole timer.
Yeah,
you get Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram back to back. Ingram wasn't my tight end pick going into the draft, but the way the board fell, I mean, I'll take him. Him and Trevor Lawrence clearly have a connection now. He's really not.
He only had 2 touchdowns last year.
Yeah, it was just he literally made his money off catches.
Yep.
He didn't score for nothing, but he was just targets. I didn't love taking Evan Ingram, but I'll hope for the best and just hope that maybe his touchdown production goes up a little bit this year. They did lose Calvin Ridley, who got a lot of their red zone targets, but they also did add Brian Thomas Jr., who scored 20 touchdowns last year.
Yep.
So I'm sure those targets will go to him, but we'll just have to wait and see with Evan Ingram. As you said, Swift, Rice, Higgins, DeAndre Swift going right there. I'm not
high on DeAndre Swift this year, but Dexter is a huge DeAndre Swift guy, so I'm not shocked that he went there.
And there was a big wide receiver run after DeAndre Swift.
7 straight?
8 wide receivers go.
8? Oh, my God.
8 straight wide receivers go.
Jesus Christ.
You get Chris Godwin to start the 6, Terry McLaurin, Jordan Addison, Rome Odunze to me, Jaden Reed, and Xavier Worthy. Now, Rome Odunze, that's the only share of him I think I have in any league.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to get Rome Odunze because usually people do reach for him.
Yeah, that was I had to do it, and I know Mike wanted him. That was somebody that Mike was targeting, but I had to go and snatch him up. Even if he doesn't start as the second wide receiver next to DJ Moore and Keenan Allen starts at the beginning of the year, I can't see him keeping that up for the entire season. Yeah, but they've already said that Odunze and Caleb look good as far as connection-wise, so I just got to hope that somewhere maybe in the early part of the season, Odunze finds his way onto the field more than Keenan Allen and just go from there.
Jaden Reed was somebody I was targeting, but Mike takes him, which I thought was a very, very good pick. I thought Jaden Reed was going to be gone beforehand. I do end up with Xavier Worthy. Now, I'm usually not too high on having too many rookies, but I don't have Xavier Worthy almost anywhere, so it's nice to have him somewhere.
For sure.
Dre gets James Conner. We get 2 keepers back-to-back, Zay Flowers and Kyle Pitts. Zamir White at 6'10", Ramondre Stevenson at 6'11", and Christian Watson at 6'12". None of these picks shocked me too much. They are what they are. I'm not high on any of the guys 6 through 12.
Yeah.
I mean 10 through 12 in that round. But I mean, it is what it is. Because I think Chris has made up for it with taking Tony Pollard in the 7th, because I have Tony Pollard kind of way ahead of Zamir White personally. So I guess that kind of switches everything up. But
he could have switched them around and still got both of them.
Yeah. So Vinny, being a Chargers fan, goes McConkey in the 7th round, 701. Nico, being a Bills fan, goes Keon Coleman, 702. Like Tony Pollard was 703, and then we get
probably the most shocking pick of the entire draft.
I guess I'll say the most shocking pick, but it got the only shit reaction. We actually have a shit reaction to Trey Benson was picked by Reno. I can't say I don't love Trey Benson, because I do.
Yeah,
I think he came from a great situation. I think he came from the most complete team in college last year, damn near.
I see the vision.
I just
don't know if he needed to take him in 7.
Let's just add a little bit of context here. This is his first running back taken. He just had 𝗘𝗚 at 609, so he already getting value somewhere. So I have to assume that if you're gonna cure all this value, you have to find a way. You got to find your guy. So would he have came back to him? I don't know. I can't say I was targeting Trey Benson. I can't say
he wasn't on my board.
He wasn't on my board, but he is the only shit reaction that we got in the entire draft.
And with the running backs on the board still, I mean, he passed on Javonte Williams.
I was going to wait to get you, because I was going to say Javonte Williams I have ahead of both Pollard and Benson.
Yeah, he skipped over Javonte Williams, who was my pick in the 7th round. Who, now that Bo Nix is a starter, I feel like the sky is the limit.
Yes.
For the kind of offense they run. I can't see Jaleel McLaughlin taking goal line carries from him.
Nope.
I don't even see him taking a lot of receiving work. I think Javonte Williams has a chance to lead the league in catches for a running back.
I think he's going to have a huge season. I think he's the top 12 running back, to be honest.
Najee Harris goes. Jonathan Brooks, I mean, I get he's hurt, so I mean, Rodney couldn't really afford to take him because he didn't have a running back yet. I took Jonathan Brooks and stashed him. And then Raheem Mostert, Zach Moss. I mean, a bunch of starters at running back when he took a bench guy.
Yep. And then and ironically, he does get a really good running back. I'm sorry, at 809 with Tyjae Spears. So I guess technically it all worked out for him in the end, because Tyjae Spears is a startable guy. For week 1 at least. But taking Trey Benson, I mean, if you swap those 2 picks, I mean, it just makes it more. You can stomach it a little bit better, because they can actually pay off on their ADP a little bit. If Trey Benson does not play a game, you don't benefit from taking Tyjae Spears at 809. You just benefit from the fact that, all right, at least Tyjae Spears did pan out, because if he didn't, then I would have to be stuck with Trey Benson. So
Absolutely.
he had to go running back somewhere. Like I said, don't think Trey Benson was the pick there to go with. I thought Deontay Johnson was a slight reach, in my honest opinion, but these wide receivers were starting to dwindle down.
Yeah, the wide receiver started to fly pretty fast.
Hollywood Brown goes, who's hurt. Didn't think that was a good pick at 706, but if you got your guys, you get your guys.
You got good value in the 7th.
I feel like I got great value. I've taken him in 4 straight drafts. Unfortunately, I have Jake Ferguson in so many leagues. It's actually kind of sick. If he gets hurt, I'm cooked. Across all leagues, I'm just cooked in all leagues.
Brock Bowers was the pick
Brock
in the
Bowers
7th.
goes
David
right after.
Njoku.
Yeah, David Njoku went in this round. So Dexter and Austin were talking about taking a tight end, and that's what kind of got me like, all right, maybe I do need to take a tight end now, because I wasn't going to. I was going to take Javonte Williams. I was like staring at Javonte Williams. I was going to take even Raheem Mostert. I was going to take Jonathan Brooks. I'm looking at all these guys. I'm like, I don't want to take a tight end. I want to wait. And then they start talking about, I'm like, let me make sure I get my guy. Second leading receiver on the Dallas Cowboys. Can't go wrong. And I feel the same way about Brock Bowers. Second leading receiver on the Raiders. You cannot go wrong there. But like you said, you got Javonte Williams. You already talked him up. Like I said, I think he's going to be top 12 this year. I think he got really good value. Your running backs are solid up to this point. And it gets even better when we swing around to the start of the 8th.
Austin influenced my pick here because JSN was my pick. That was my cue.
Was my pick.
Yeah, JSN was my pick at 8-4. I thought for sure, I didn't think Austin was going to go back-to-back wide receiver again because he went 4 straight receivers at this point. I didn't expect JSN to go there. That was my only guy in the queue. And then once I saw him go, I was like, okay, let me just start looking at running backs. And I was like, I had good running backs up to the point, as you said. I'm okay with stashing Jonathan Brooks. If he misses, even if he misses more than the first 4 games, I'm okay with holding on to him until he comes back. Because I do think I like Chuba Hubbard, but I don't think he's a more talented runner than Jonathan Brooks.
No,
was
not even
Texas.
close. So. He's not. If when Jonathan Brooks gets in the swing of things, which I think would be like week 5, week 6, I think it's more of a precautionary thing keeping him out. I don't think he's still hurt. I think he's fine. I think
don't rush him back if you don't have to.
And split carries right now, but This is a Carolina team who's not projected to be good. So
Joe Burrow goes at 802.
Joe Burrow shot me, but this is the first quarterback taken in the last 4 rounds.
Yeah, since Lamar
so
Jackson.
We are very, very like we're through a lot of picks before we get another quarterback,
And
that goes back to our point where nobody really needed a quarterback.
And this is around the point where Greg and Rodney were starting to be like, damn, maybe we messed up taking quarterback back to back in the second round. Because now they're like, okay, now Joe Burrow getting all the way to the 8th round is insane in any league format, even in especially in a 12-man.
Yes.
So him getting all the way to 8-2 is crazy. Anthony Richardson was a keeper for Dexter at 8-3. As I said, I went Jonathan Brooks. Mike goes Raheem Mostert, and then you get Brian Thomas at 8-9. I know you said you're not big on having rookies, but that's another guy. Like I just said it when I brought up Everett Ingram, where a bunch of vacated targets are there. Christian Kirk is the only other proven wide receiver on the team. I guess if you want to count Gabe Davis.
I'm not counting Gabe Davis. Personally, I'm not, but I know some people will.
And so going Brian Thomas, who, like I said, just came off a year scoring 20 touchdowns at LSU.
And his competition was Malik Neighbors. It's not this is not something like, all right, he just got every target. No, he was
competing with a guy that was a top 6 pick. So getting Brian Thomas, who is probably going to be their leading red zone receiver. He's a big guy, big frame. Like I said, he has the ability to go up and get the ball. If Trevor Lawrence can get him, that's a great pick to have, especially in the 8th round.
And he's listed as a starter. So if you know anything about Brian Thomas Jr., if you know anything about Christian Kirk's a slot. Brian Thomas Jr. is on the outside. If you're going to run 11 personnel, who's going to be out there? If you're going to run 21 personnel, who's going to be out there? Brian Thomas is in every single package. So there's no way. I don't see a situation where Brian Thomas Jr. is off the field. That's where my pick kind of.
He looked really good in the preseason. So if that works out for them, I mean, that's a great pick for you if he ends up being out there every time. You get Zach Moss, Cortland Sutton, who, like I said, I don't hate any Broncos player right now. I know not everybody loves Bo Nix. We even said it today, like we don't think Bo Nix is great, but he's in the best situation for him right now, for the kind of quarterback he is, for the kind of offense that Sean Payton runs.
Yeah, and I don't know who's going to be the leading receiver on that team. But if there's only one really draftable Broncos player outside of Javonte Williams, and you know what I'm saying,
it has to be Cortland.
And it's Cortland Sutton. Everybody else has
got a question mark. You can't say Greg Dulcich at tight end because he's been hurt the last 2 years. Marvin Mims barely got play last year, even though he was probably their fastest player by a long shot.
Yeah, and I don't think he has a role on this team because of the way Bo Nix plays. I don't think he has sure hands enough to play in that RPO style. I think he's a field stretcher, and if you want to keep letting him go out there and run these go routes and waste energy every time he's out there, like that's what he did last year, and to do that again and not get any real reps, I would feel bad for Marvin Mims because I thought he's a talented player when he was at Oklahoma with Caleb Williams. He did benefit strongly, but it is what it is.
You're not drafting Josh Reynolds either.
Yeah, you're not drafting Josh Reynolds. So realistically, I mean, Cortland Sutton was a great pick. I do think there's no way he doesn't do something in this offense.
And then you get
Tajay Spears,
who you talked about, obviously.
Yeah,
Rodney
50-50.
saves himself.
I think you say fixes the Trey Benson pick, but Mike actually is the one that reacted to shit reaction. Actually just finally popped up. I kept trying to see who did it, but it was Mike.
And then Chris goes wide receiver for the first time since DJ Moore.
This is his first wide receiver in the last six rounds.
Yeah.
He doesn't get a wide receiver.
He goes and gets Ǩa'Lil Shakir, who a lot of people have a big hope for. Obviously, he's probably going to be their starting. I don't know if that's their slot receiver.
I would say I could say he could play a little bit of both. I
feel like Curtis Samuel makes more sense as the main slot. Obviously, Keon Coleman would be their X. You get Jalen Warren and Brian Robinson back to back. Jalen Warren did have the hamstring thing, but he said he's going to play. Brian Robinson is going to be splitting with Austin Eckler, but I can't see Eckler taking too much from him. Maybe it's a 50-50 thing to start. Then you get back-to-back quarterbacks. You get Justin Herbert to Vinny, big Charger guy, as we said.
That he just goes him every time. You kind of expect it. Way ahead of his ADP. Like I said, we don't want to question Vinny because he's profited off this league, but he's way ahead of his ADP. Nobody was thinking. It's almost like we almost let him get Justin Herbert because he's going to go hard for him anyways. Just have him if you want.
And he gets his stack with Ladd McConkey.
This is where I'm going to start getting a little bit critical. Okay. We mentioned the 5 keepers at quarterback. Nico kept Jordan Love in the 15th round. Would you rather, if you have Jordan Love already on team, go Jerome Ford, Gus Edwards, Blake Corum, Chase Brown, Goddard, Samuel, Jameson Williams, Singletary, Hawkinson, or Caleb Williams? Out of all those picks, if you already have your solidified quarterback 1, You're telling me that you're going to be deciding every single week between Jordan Love and Caleb Williams?
Unless you plan that to be your keeper, that's a dumb pick.
I
don't
like to plan for keepers in the ninth round. Like if I'm going to 13th, like maybe I keep them.
Yeah, maybe
I do. But in the ninth round, when you only taken CeeDee Lamb, DK Metcalf, and Keon Coleman as your wide receivers, it's hard to justify taking Caleb Williams at 902.
You passed up a guaranteed starter for at least the first 4 weeks in Jerome Ford, who was good last year and won people leagues last year.
Yep.
Gus Edwards, who is going to be probably the bell cow running back at least. I know they said 50-50 with J.K. Dobbins, but you just got to pray for J.K. Dobbins to stay healthy first. Blake Corum, who everybody is really buying into, especially now because of the whole Kyron Williams punt returner thing.
Yep.
I think it's a little bit overblown, but so be it. Chase Brown, great pick.
I get
probably more talented than Zach Moss at this point.
Yeah.
Maybe they just wanted Zach Moss for a more like veteran style player. He's obviously they're two different kind of players to begin with. Anyways, Chase Brown's obviously a smaller guy.
So
more of a receiver.
both will get work.
Yeah, there's going to be like Zach Moss can't do what Chase Brown does, but Chase Brown can't do what Zach Evans does. Dallas Goedert is just a backup pick for Mike. He did take Brock Bowers earlier on.
He even said I double dipped at tight end, which is fine, but
it's just in case. I went Curtis Samuel. He goes back with Joe Brady, who Curtis Samuel had his best year with Joe Brady back in Carolina. Even if they use him as just a slot guy, I would expect at least decent production out of him. He's my fourth wide receiver off the board at the time, which I basically let Dexter get Jameson Williams because nobody else is going to take him if it wasn't Dexter. I don't love Jameson Williams anyways. He's on a team that already has a target monster in Amon-Ra St. Brown. Sam Laporta is also going to be out there. Jahmyr Gibbs can catch the ball.
Yep.
Jameson Williams is going to be a guy that he doesn't touch the ball much. He could probably do a lot with the ball when he touches it.
It's hard to start him. It's hard to all right, I'm going to put Jameson Williams in my starting lineup, and he's going to give me 12 to 15 points.
Because you just don't know. He's the definition of boomer bust right now.
Yep.
Skyler gets Devin Singletary, which I don't hate. He's going to be the starter, and he gets a connection with Brian Dable. They said they want a big workload for him. I mean, he's never handled a big workload extremely well. He had a good year last year in Houston.
Yep.
But you just got to wait and see. Like, that offense is going to be disgusting no matter what.
So it's hard to want stocks in that offense because he already went neighbors. So he has
Austin goes tight end for the first time. He gets TJ Hawkinson. That's a guy that you could stash. I mean, that's a top tight end in the league. Obviously coming off a knee injury, but you got to just kind of take him and hope for the best when he does come back, even though Sam Darnold will be throwing in the ball.
Sam Darnold's throwing the ball. That's why I'm not going too hard for him. TJ Hawkinson.
Then he takes Rico Dowdle, which is a smart pick. Everything out of camp has said that Rico Dowdle is going to be the leading rusher for the Cowboys. He's going to be on the field the most. He's going to get the most rush attempts. We'll see how the goal line stuff works out. I don't know what they really plan to do with Zeke yet, but Dowdle's not a horrible pick. He definitely did go down and get him. At 10-1, that's his ADP.
Yeah. I thought it was
way ahead of his ADP. I thought
it was a little bit early. I wouldn't.
But I would say this round had a couple guys go pretty early on. I think the only one.
That's what I'm about to say. I think the 10th round was where people really started to pick their guys, like for sure, like to put a little bit of stock into some guys. We can even start with you with Jalen Polk, who I'm high on now. Yeah. I wasn't high on him coming into the draft process. I wasn't high on him when he got drafted. I thought he was, average athlete. He could do some good things.
I thought he was the third best Washington.
Yeah, I didn't think he was that great. I like McMillan over him and all that. But the more I see of him, the more I'm like, he's going to be a great player. And
it just helps to be in an offense where there is no other viable wide receiver one. Like, I saw stuff, they said they like Tyquan Thornton, but Tyquan Thornton only offers so much. He hasn't done much in his first couple years in the league. So I think Jalen Polk has the ability to just play all over the field for them. I can't see him leaving the field very often. I can't see the Patriots staying in games very much either. They have to throw the ball.
Yep.
So I'm that's more so just me putting stock into Jalen Polk, more so than me expecting him to start every week. Like, he's not a starter for me.
Yeah, he's not your starter, but
But if he does have a thing,
can start. On those. He has a week 14 bye, so you're gonna be using him a lot in buys and then when it gets to week 14, you don't want him to be in your lineup anyways. Exactly. That's gonna be your playoff push. You don't want him in your lineup running.
And then Mike goes Xavier Legette.
Who I've not heard great things about. I have not heard great things about Xavier Legette. I see him playing with the threes. I think in that Bills game. So
it'll be one of those things where he probably has to work his way up. I mean, Deontay Johnson and Thielen are obviously going to be their main starters. I probably really couldn't name you another wide receiver on their team right now. Casual take.
Yeah,
I don't know who else they're dealing with. You get Nick Chubb.
It is what it is. Right. I can't tell you either.
You get Nick Chubb, who is still a top running back in this league, obviously dealing with a knee injury. We'll see when he comes back. it'll probably be a split with Jerome Ford, depending on how
believe
Jerome
it's going to be a
Ford.
split depending on how Jerome Ford plays, and I can even see a situation where maybe we just throw the ball a little bit more, and he's just not on the field a bunch, and he's only on the field when he is running the ball, which I guess kind of gives ways to the defense, which I don't like. But we get interesting because we can gloss over the Eckler pick. Eckler has high upside if he can return to anything of the form that he was before. 10-8, we got Ray Davis. Now, this is almost on par with the Trey Benson pick with me. Nobody in their right mind was taking Ray Davis, I think, at all at any point in this draft.
I don't even think I would have took him.
I'm going to be 100% honest. I don't think anybody was taking Ray Davis in this draft at any point. But Greg didn't have many running backs. A running back run did happen kind of right before him, with Chubb and Eckler. But Chubb's not playing any games for the first month. Eckler, if you really want him that bad, then so be it.
He skipped over a starter in Chuba Hubbard, though.
Yeah, so he skipped over a starter on Chuba Hubbard. I can only say from my point of view, I don't think anybody was thinking about Ray Davis. I almost
he definitely was never in my
kind
queue.
of confirm because there's been better reports about other rookies that did not get drafted.
The rest of this draft, the rest of that round, honestly, is pretty quiet.
Yeah.
Palmer, Gabe Davis, DeAndre Hopkins, who now I guess they're saying is an MCL tear.
MCL tear, which is kind of scary for Nico, who already doesn't have
very much wide receiver depth.
Yeah.
You get Dalton Schultz to end that round, and then Adonai Mitchell to start off the 11th. The more that the thing goes on, it seems like Adonai Mitchell is starting to blossom in that offense more.
Yes,
like
I'm seeing. I
was
was very low on Adonai Mitchell coming into the draft process, but it looks like
my
Adonai
favorite wide
Mitchell.
receiver.
Yeah, but like I should say, I should be. I'm down on him when he went to the Colts because it's not a high volume pass offense, and he just was a part of one.
Right.
So to see him go to the Colts was like, fuck, like dude, he's gonna have to compete for targets, and not just compete for targets, that compete with the fact that his quarterback cannot throw the ball at a high level.
Right.
So to see him be able to, I want to say he ran a lot in the slot. From what I've seen, he ran a lot in the slot, and I was not expecting him to be running in the slot at any point. But with Josh Downs being out, you gotta be an asset to the team. It's just that simple. And he's an elite athlete. And be honest, he is an elite athlete. Yeah. So he can do a lot of great things. So if he can provide, productivity in the slot early on, while Josh Downs is nursing an injury, he's obviously gonna put himself in a great spot going forward.
Well, first touchdown of the game just happened. It started to break away from the fantasy football stuff.
Derrick
Henry just ran in a touchdown for the Ravens.
I can't say I'm shocked, but shout out Nico. He got the first touchdown of the fantasy football. Speaking of Nico, we are right at him. 11:02. He goes Chuba Hubbard. Gets a really good. He probably gets a last starter, I would say.
Yeah.
Based out the rest of the board, we get the first defense out the board with the 49ers, which I was kind of expected from Chris. That's kind of just something that he does. Reno doubles down, takes another quarterback with Jaden Daniels. He already has Patrick Mahomes. For a little bit of context, Mike Williams, 11:05. 𝗏𝗏 11:06. I take 11:07 just because I don't like Damian, so I didn't want him to have anything good in life. So I took Jalen right from him. But he actually took the guy I probably should have took, which is Ty Chandler, who I'm really high on this year. They keep talking about a 50-50 split backfield with him and Aaron Jones. It makes sense. He's not a great athlete, but he can run that damn ball.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He had a good end of last year. And I mean, Aaron Jones is a good running back. I have nothing against Aaron Jones, but literally I just feel like Ty Chandler has every reason to take over that backfield more so the longer it goes on. Then you get Trevor Lawrence. Like I said, this is funny. Like these quarterbacks, man, they made it so far down the damn board.
3 rounds before, Anthony Richardson was Dexter's keeper, so that's a little bit more context.
So you get Trevor Lawrence, then you get Zeke. Then Austin takes the same tight end he takes every single year. He gets Pat Freiermuth again. He'll never leave him alone. Then he goes Tyler Algier. I know they've said about how they don't want to stop using Tyler Algier. And I understand that, but I mean, there's just no way that Bijan can't. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's just no way that they can not use Bijan more than what they did last year. There was already a travesty that Bijan didn't get used as much as he did last year.
Yep.
Skyler goes J.K. Dobbins, who we talked about a little bit today. Like I said, if he somehow breaks out now after all the injuries and he didn't before,
I think he's 26 now. 25. I'm sorry, and he's never really touched 1K yards. He's never really been a workhorse. He's always split with like Justice Hill and all those guys. Even Lamar Jackson there. This is a whole different situation. He doesn't have Lamar Jackson there, so we'll really see what kind of runner he is. Even though he doesn't get away from Greg
stays
Roman,
in the same exact offense.
It's such a different idea than having Lamar Jackson next to you.
Then another defense goes off with the Cowboys going to Dexter. I take my favorite Green Bay wide receiver and then Dontavian Wicks.
Big fan of him.
It's tough. I get they have a lot of wide receivers. They have Dobbs, they have Jaden Reed, they have Christian Watson.
But we know who he took over. He took over Christian Watson last year. So if you take over Christian Watson, a guy who has been struggling with this hamstring stuff, is if the surgery and all the work and all the physical therapy with him going and figuring out his hamstrings are 2 different sizes, if that works out for him, great, it's a good thing. But you have a really good guy that's a really good handcuff in an offense that I feel like is going to pass the ball more. They didn't pass the ball a lot last year. This is extremely efficient.
They say it was an efficient passing offense. Mike goes Brock Purdy, who he already kept C.J. Stroud, so a lot of these guys are starting to double down on quarterback. You take the last starting quarterback of the draft. You get Tua Tagovailoa in the middle of the 12th round. High volume passing offense. I think he finished as like a top 12 quarterback last year. Top 10. He was number 9 last year. You know he's going to throw the ball. He throws the ball as much as any other quarterback in the league at this point. In a high efficient offense with some of the best weapons in the league. It's hard to see Tua not producing again. As long as he stays on the football field. He's a little bit lighter now. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be like a rushing quarterback, but he has a little bit more rushing value than he did last year, at least when he was a statue in the pocket because how big he was. You get Tyler Lockett going to Dre, who is always a boomer bust guy. He has 60 points one week, then he has 1 catch the following week.
He can only do good against the Cardinals at this point. He's at that point in his career.
You get the Jets going to Greg. Zach Charbonnet goes to Reno. That's another running back for him. We'll see how that split goes again. It wasn't really even 50-50 last year. It was more so 75-25, if you want to call it that. Goff was the pick for Chris in the 12th. Well, that was his keeper, I should say. Nico gets the Browns.
Keeper,
Nico gets the Browns defense. Then Aaron Rodgers goes 12-12 to Vinny, another double quarterback situation. Then he takes the Ravens defense. Luke Musgrave goes to Nico. Now, I mean, that's another tight end double down. Luke Musgrave was hurt a lot last year. I'm more of a Tucker Kraft guy.
I love Tucker Kraft. I'm not high on Luke Musgrave at all. But I feel like he got good value at 13 too.
Yeah, no, it definitely works out.
Then we get Keaton Mitchell. Dennis. I don't think anybody was really targeting him in this. If you guys were, then you guys were. But I wasn't looking at Keaton Mitchell.
No, I wasn't either. He wasn't in my team. It was a pretty shocking pick. I didn't expect to see his name on a draft board. Rashid Shaheed. I've always been a big Rashid Shaheed guy. I have him in a couple dynasties. Even though he wears number 22. Ricky Pearsall. He got shot the same day.
He got shot before this draft. Prayers to him. Hopefully he has a speedy recovery. But he goes at 13:05. I'm not a fan of him after being shot. Just the fact that he got shot. He wasn't having a really good preseason at all. He has a good camp. Nothing good was coming out of anything they were saying about him. So not a guy that I was targeting personally. We got Adam Thielen at 13:06. Not a bad pick. I go Steelers defense. They're always a good defense to have. Jaleel McLaughlin probably could have went him. Probably should have went him. But it is what it is. Kyler Murray was your keeper at 13:09. Insane value right there. Ben Sinnott, another tight end I can probably confidently say that nobody was really looking at.
Yeah, at this point in the time.
At this point, you probably
he's also the tight end 3 for them now. He hasn't had a great camp.
He has not had a good
It's a guy you just have to let develop. It's very much, I could see it as like another Trey McBride situation. I think he has the talent. He needs more time than just being a starter off the bat.
Yep. Darnell Mooney, Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. It's hard not to nitpick. I mean, a lot of these guys are who they are. They're wide receiver 3s, 4s, maybe even guys you want to see break out. Austin plants his flag on Quentin Johnson again. Takes him at 14:01.
Favorite wide receiver.
I can't say I'm a fan of Quentin Johnson at all. Skylar takes Pop Douglas, somebody I actually did want in this draft, but unfortunately I don't get him. Antonio Gibson, CMC kind of player. If you playing Madden, if you stuck in 2019, you still believe in Antonio Gibson. I'm done with Antonio Gibson hype though. You take a defense that I really believe in, the Seattle Seahawks. I think their defense is going to kill this year.
I think especially them getting the Ravens D-coordinator from last year. Everything about their situation just sounds better. They beefed up the D-line. Their cornerbacks are still – I think Tariq Woolen will be much better this year. I know he really regressed last year. So I'm hoping him next to Witherspoon just goes off. And they have a great matchup the first 2 weeks. They play Denver, and then they play New England.
Yep. So then we got Bears defense, who I was really high on. I do think they do some good things. I think they got a really good secondary. I think their pass rush is getting better with Montez Sweat. Not Montez Sweat. Who did they get? Did they get Montez Sweat? Yeah. Okay, they did get Montez. Montez Sweat went from Commanders to the
Bears.
Bears? Okay.
Yeah, he was having a horrible year with the Commanders, and he went to the Bears. He had multiple sacks and a lot of tackles for losses.
Okay. I go Brandon Cooks. I do have him and Ferguson. There's targets to be had in this offense. I didn't want to take Brandon Cooks here. Like I said, I was really actually targeting Pop Douglas, but can't go wrong with a guy who actually I think scored like 9 touchdowns last year. Josh Downs, a guy I loved last year, taken that by Drake May, Braylon Allen,
I was so mad at Drake May. I wanted Drake May with my last pick just to have that Jalen Paul Drake May stack.
Yeah, I was shot by a Drake May pick right there. Braylon Allen, another guy. I don't know if somebody would take him. I'll be honest.
I was big on him in like the actual real life draft process, but I just don't see him touching anything unless Breece Hall.
Yeah, I'm so high on Breece Hall, I wouldn't touch him unless I had Breece Hall.
Exactly.
I wouldn't want him on my roster.
Chris surprised me with his pick. Now I like this pick.
I love Jalen Tolbert. This is Chris' best pick since like goddamn round 2. Like I love Jalen Tolbert. I'm high on him.
And it's the same thing. Like, I think there are targets to be had. Brandon Cooks is still a good wide receiver, but he is getting older. Jalen Tolbert, we've been kind of waiting for him to like start to produce, and he's had a lot. It sounds like he's had a good offseason. I can see him being on the field a lot more than he was, even with CD Lamb obviously being back as the wide receiver 1.
Yep. So then we got Tyrone Tracy, Marshawn Lloyd, 2 guys listed lower on the depth chart than you probably imagine going into the draft process. They are like both running back 3s on their depth chart. So, decent handcuffs. They do a little bit different from the guys that are actually starting. So, should be interesting. Then we got a lot of the round 15 keepers. We got Puka, Jordan Love. Bo Nix is picked by Chris. This is a potential keeper, most likely, I'm assuming. Reno goes to the Philadelphia Eagles defense. They got a whole different, scheme going on now. Should be interesting what they do. Last year, they really did shit the bed. Kendre Miller, I don't think he does anything this year. It's a 15th round pick though. Dolphins defense, who recovering a little bit. They lost a couple pieces, but as you would know,
they got Storm Duck.
Storm Duck. Storm is coming. Kyron Williams, my keeper. C.J. Stroud was a keeper. You take J.J. McCarthy, a potential keeper, guy that you can put on the IR literally all year and don't have to worry about too much at all. Will Levis at 15-10. This is Dexter's third quarterback in a matter of 7 rounds. So that's pretty interesting. Skyler goes with the Houston Texans defense, who he ended up dropping almost immediately after. And last but not least, Mr. Irrelevant is Wan'Dale Robinson.
I'm still waiting for a breakout.
So all in all, competitive draft. I feel like everybody did draft well.
This was the most competitive I've seen our draft be in a couple years.
I think everybody really did draft well. I won't say anybody did anything bad. I don't think anybody did anything.
I won't even say who I think is the best team or anything like that. Yeah. But there were some oddity picks here and there. But like I said, to me, this was the best and the most competitive overall draft I've seen from everybody. Like there was no team where I looked at where I was like, damn, they cannot compete.
Yeah, I don't have much to say other than the fact that we are fortunate that football is back. Yeah. We're happy that it's back. Like I said, it's on right now. We're recording for y'all. So, just a little bit of appreciation, man. We missing a masterclass from Derrick Henry. Obviously, we mentioned he scored. Xavier Worthy, I just ran one in as well, who I said I drafted. I didn't start him, obviously, because, rain and whatnot. And I don't think he's better than any of my other wide receivers. But, you know what I'm saying? This is the time where you'd be like, damn, I guess I should have started Myles Gaskin. Like, you didn't know Myles Gaskin was going for 4 touchdowns today, bro. But maybe you had a dream about it. Maybe you did. But all in all, we'll keep you guys updated about this league as it goes along. It should be fun to keep track of everything. I do think that, like I said, everybody did draft well. Right now, there's only so many people that actually have anything going on in this game. Nico being one of them with Derrick Henry. His team name actually is O. Henry. Name. Not gonna get too much into that, but
I need a Rashi Rice disaster class the rest of the game.
But thank you guys for joining us. The Stig League is up and running. Like I said, we will keep you guys updated.
Yeah, we'll make updates here and there.
I'm loving what I'm seeing out of everybody's team right now. It should be interesting. This is a high stake league. You don't see many $100 leagues just getting gold stars from Sleeper. I'm telling you, we got a gold star. They said it's the best league in Sleeper right now. I just can't show y'all that because that's confidential. But like I said, thank you guys for joining us. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. It's been a pleasure, and we see you guys on the next one.